Hey gang, Ross Brand here for LivestreamUniverse.com, and this is Livestream Deals. It's our holiday show. It's the last Livestream Deals episode of the year, and we've got some great products we're featuring. We're going to be talking about the LiveU Solo. It's a hardware encoder that lets you go live from the most bandwidth-challenged environments. We've also got a special offer for people who are using the LiveU Solo or going to get into using the LiveU Solo for getting your cellular plan so that you can stay live with unlimited bandwidth for a year. And also, we have the great Chris Krimitsos will be joining us from Podfest Expo. It's one of the great podcasting events, one of the great community events in any type of content creation industry, and it covers not just podcasting but live streaming and video creation and all different types of audio and video content creation. And that's in March, coming up in Orlando 2020. Chris will be with us to talk about what's coming up at the event, and also he'll be giving away a free ticket to one lucky viewer. And then we have Tamara Thompson making her first appearance on Livestream Deals. She's from Broadcast Your Authority. She's an expert in YouTube video creation and optimization, and also social video, and coming up with a system that really promotes your brand and your business through video content. So look forward to talking to her. She's going to be giving away some strategy sessions, 30-minute free strategy session with her. And if you're interested in either a free 45-minute live streaming strategy session or a free 45-minute audio strategy session, which could be podcasting, could be Lexa Flash briefings, could be audio for video, I'm going to be giving away one of those and one live streaming. And of course, Tamara is the person to see for anything to do with produced video creation and optimization. So a lot of special offers and giveaways to get to, a lot of great products to talk about. Happy holidays, everyone. So glad you could join us. Let's get to our first guest. He's from Broadfield, and he's an expert not only in audio, video, and content creation, but in the specific device we're going to be talking about today, which is the LiveU Solo. Gary Bettan, president of Broadfield, welcome. So good to have you on Livestream Deals.
Thank you very much. Very cool show, cool program. Great how you're giving people, insight into technology, and also great ways to save some money buying it. So that's a 1-2 punch. It's great for the end user.
Well, it's great to have you here. And just so everybody knows, we'll be giving out the livestreamdeals.com website, livestreamdeals.com. You can find all the products and services that we'll be discussing on today's show. And in fact, all the products and services from our past shows as well. Click on through and you can get more information. You can take the next step. You can even order or purchase or whatever you'd like to do from there. So, Gary, tell us first a little bit about the LiveU Solo. I've used it. A lot of other people have used it. Why is this such an important product to your customers and your retailers?
Basically, if you think about it, if you're going to do live streaming, let's say you want to be a live streaming provider, or you have to do live streaming for a school where sometimes you'll be streaming from a ball field, sometimes you'll be streaming from a basketball court, you might be streaming from a classroom, you might be streaming from the theater. Well, what happens is bandwidth isn't always guaranteed, especially when you're coming in as an independent person to shoot the show. So what happens a lot of times is you have an encoder, you have something where the guy says, don't worry, my Wi-Fi is great. We have the highest bandwidth in the world. You get there and there's firewall issues. Their bandwidth is terrible. They don't understand what video is all about. When you have a LiveU Solo, what it basically does is it uses 2 different cellular modems, bonds the signal together through the cloud. So each cellular modem goes to their own cell service. Let's say one through AT&T, one through T-Mobile. Then the LiveU LRT cloud bonds them together into one big pipe. So picture if you had 2 bars on one modem, 2 bars on the other modem, now you get 4 bars of total video. Combines it back together, so you have a gorgeous HD footage, and then the Solo LRT Cloud sends it to Facebook or YouTube or any RTMP stream. What's really great about that is number one, you could be in the middle of a ball field. If cell phones work, you could stream video. You have insurance that your video is going to stream properly, and you can give assurance to your customers or your audience that the stream is going to work, because it simply does. It's super easy to set up, and once you get it going, you can actually connect directly to your favorite RTMP stream with a couple of clicks of a button.
And LiveU is they're the folks who invented cellular bonding, which is now a big part of how the news is distributing video, especially from hard to reach places, rather than taking a satellite truck out. Oftentimes it's a cameraman or camera person and a reporter going out, and they are streaming that across cellular connections, that video back to a TV station, a TV network, video distribution service that then is sending that on to the end user, to the newscaster who's actually delivering that footage on the evening news.
Well, that's an important part. And I think we need to understand this. This LiveU Solo technology is new to be available to prosumers, but this has been firing up any major news event that's happened over the last 4 or 5 years, be it a national election, an Olympics, a World Cup game, an uprising, a volcano, a plane crash. There are reporters on the site with LiveU products that are much more expensive, products getting into the $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 range, where they can give you back to the news feed. So that's how it's coming. And you're absolutely right. It's kind of replacing that satellite uplink that you used to see from the truck. And really, that's where the world's going right now. So what the LiveU Solo is, it gives you a piece of that technology in an affordable bundle with an affordable feature set and an affordable data plan.
What is going to be the impact of 5G? Because we were talking off the air a little bit about what people are doing to cover sports. And I know once 5G comes along, sports will be an area where you can do games without necessarily needing to bring a truck and a satellite connection. You'll be able to, and I'm sure people already are, but with 5G, they'll be able to do it at the highest level, from what I understand.
Yeah, 5G for a stadium is real important, because right now, if I'm going to use cellular service and I'm at Yankee Stadium or the Ohio State, Horseshoe or something, everyone's got a cell phone.
Right,
With
right.
5G, there'll be more than enough bandwidth for everyone, and because of the short wavelength, everyone's in line of sight of each other. So you essentially create like a 5G mesh within the event place. So it could be a concert or a ball game. And now you can do some incredible stuff. Anyone's phone can be brought into your productions, and the LiveU folks are really going to take that to the next level, because now you can have 6, 7, 8, 20 cameras all working together over 5G. But what a lot of people misconceive 5G to be, 5G is not going to be something where all of a sudden I'm going to be in the middle of a street in Manhattan and it's going to really benefit me for a long time, because you really have to have, it's shorter wavelengths, so you need more antennas in a tighter space. So doing it in a controlled environment like a concert or a sporting venue, that's where you're going to see 5G take off at first. Till you have cities covered in a 5G network, we're 5 years away from that easy.
So with the consumer who's using it, the prosumer who's using it with 4G and a couple of modems, maybe they're adding Wi-Fi depending on where they're located as well. What are some of the most popular use cases you're seeing for the LiveU Solo?
Number one is the run and gun guy. So that's, let's say, where you're doing local reporting, local events. You can put the LiveU Solo, attach it to there's an HDMI version for $1,000, or there's a version that's HDMI and SDI for $14.99. You take the output of your camera, your beautiful HD stream now goes right from the camera in full HD up to the LRT cloud through the both different modems, gets bonded together, and now it goes straight to Facebook or YouTube. We're seeing that being used in education, sports, where I'm going to say high school sports, D2, D3 type teams are using LiveU Solo. We're seeing it used in worship, where necessarily when you're out a little bit, the bandwidth you might not have high bandwidth in your area, but you have good cellular coverage, so it works over there. And then we're also seeing it be used in education in general, because it becomes a portable bandwidth that you can use in an environment where maybe in a K through 12 school system, they're not going to open up their pipes to video, but now you can stream your video from, let's say, your graduation, your theater program, what have you. And one of the things about the LiveU Solo that we see is our customers are split 50-50. Half of them are what we call running gunners. It's just mounted on a good quality camera. The shooting is going up. The other half of our business are we see people who are doing it. They're bringing their bandwidth with them through the Solo, and they're taking the output of a switcher. It could be a roll-in switcher. It could be a TriCaster. It could be ATEM from Blackmagic. But the most popular one that we have is we have a lot of customers bundling it together with the LiveU Solo with the Sling Studio. And the Sling Studio is a completely portable solution that can fit in a backpack with Wi-Fi. So we work together, Broadfield Distributing, with LiveU and Sling to put a bundle together that includes the Sling Studio backpack with the hub and the cam link and the LiveU Solo and the Connect. So you get the 2 modems and the bandwidth, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do this on a regular basis, but I have, even broadcasting from home, used the LiveU Solo to send the video to the destination, whether it's Facebook Live or whether it's a multi-channel streaming service.
Yep.
And you can definitely notice a quality bump when you use the Solo. When you use a hardware encoder versus using software, you can oftentimes see a difference in quality in the streaming.
100%. You know, one of the things that you have is, let's say you're using a laptop and that's your encoder.
Right.
Well, everything that laptop's doing takes cycles away from encoding, takes cycles away from, and encoding now is a GPU, CPU, hardwired, type of thing. So when you have dedicated hardware, you can really do a better job with your encode. In fact, we have a lot of people who have TriCaster systems who use like a LiveU as their encoder, simply so the TriCaster isn't so overwhelmed by the production they're doing. If you're bringing in 2 remote guests and you've got flying animated graphics and multiple cameras and lower thirds and dissolving, rotating, flying on subtitles and a sports ticker, you can overwhelm a computer-based video mixer. So by taking the encoding responsibilities off the mixer, you can get a better show. So we have people who do that all the time. And in that case, they often won't even use the LiveU as a cellular bonded encoder. They'll just use it as an encoder that's going right out to their internet. They're just offloading the encoding from their mixer.
So if you're interested in learning more about the LiveU Solo or picking up a LiveU Solo, you can go to livestreamdeals.com and click the big image of the LiveU Solo. It'll take you right on through to find out more about it. Can you tell us a little bit about the 2 modem starter pack for the LiveU Solo for either people who already have one or people who are about to get one, and what the advantage of this does when you get this pack as opposed to sourcing each element out individually?
That's the problem. You have to have USB-based cellular modems to make the LiveU Solo deliver its magic.
Right.
And what we found was a lot of people would buy a LiveU Solo and they'd go to the Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile store, and the guy would be like, "What are you talking about? We have these MiFi pucks, for people who want to use laptops, but USB modems we don't really have." They'd say, "You got to go to the website." Then the guy would go to the website and order it, and it would be a modem without a SIM card, so you have to go back to the store and get a SIM card. And they say, "Well, for the SIM card, you have to pay this much extra plus this plus that." And it just became a big source of frustration. So what the LiveU folks did is they cut a deal with T-Mobile and AT&T.
Right.
And now what you get is 2 USB modems that the LiveU folks make themselves. They're made specifically for the Solo product. One has a T-Mobile SIM in it. There's an AT&T SIM in it. And the best part is they use the power of their negotiations, because remember, I told you the Olympics and all these people are using cellular service. So they buy cellular service at a much better deal than you or I can. And what you get is unlimited usage for each stick up to the cloud. Now, that basically the way it goes is you buy the 2 modems for $450, and then what you get is an annual data plan, which is $295 a month, and that gets you unlimited data for each stick, and it also gets you their LRT cloud service as part of it. So you're basically committing to a $295 a month fee, but when you look at it, if you're doing 3 shows a month, it's basically $100 a show. If you're doing live shows and you're a live video producer, you could simply go to your clients and say, "Listen, I have my own bandwidth. I can bring it with me. You don't have to worry about it. It's mark it up a little bit. It's $125, $150 if you want it. But by the way, I bring it no matter what. And if I show up on site and your bandwidth doesn't cut it, I'll take mine out. But then it's going to cost you $250 or $300. you will see that almost every guy who swears he's got the bandwidth will turn around and say, for 100, 125 more, yeah, you supply the bandwidth. It's not my problem. And now you get there early, you set it up, no hassles. Because one of the most frustrating things in the world is you show up with your cameras, you're ready to do your shoot, and all of a sudden their IT department or their firewall or their Wi-Fi that isn't really well done limits your show. You look bad, it's got nothing to do with you. So that's why I say it's insurance and assurance that everything's going to go great.
We're talking about the LiveU Solo and the 2-modem starter pack for the LiveU Solo with Gary Bettan, the president of Broadfield. And we're going to be talking in just a few minutes with Chris Krimitsos from Podfest Multimedia Expo. Gary, in the time that we have left, I know that you work with different retailers to move the LiveU Solo into their hands and out to the customers. Talk about what you're doing right now and who you're looking to work with.
Basically, Broadfield Distributing is looking for resellers throughout the country. That's people who want to get involved in live streaming in general. We don't just sell the LiveU Solo. We sell NewTek TriCasters. We sell Epiphan. We have a whole wide variety of video production and content stuff. And if you're a reseller or someone who's been selling products, maybe you're an electronics or computer store in the area and people have come into you and said, hey, I'd like to learn more about live streaming. What I want to tell you is we're a distributor looking for new dealers. Give us a call. We'll set you up with a salesperson. We'll get you the product knowledge. We do webinars. We have product training to provide you so you can know a little bit about it. Plus, we have tech support here that can help you. We're always looking for new resellers. And if you're an end user looking to buy, well, you can go through Amazon. That's the big kahuna. B&H Photos available. And then there's Video Guys and some other people also who sell these LiveU products. And of course, you can go straight to your website and get the LiveU Solo as well through that link.
All right. Well, thank you so much. How can people reach out to you if they want to continue the conversation?
If you're a reseller, you can give me a call at 800-634-5178. And if you're an end user, just Google LiveU Solo, and you'll find resellers who are out there. Like I said, Video Guys, B&H, or Amazon.
Okay, or livestreamdeals.com.
Correct.
We have it for you. Thank you so much, Gary. Great to meet you. Great to chat with you.
You're welcome.
Love what you're doing with these LiveU packages. Take care.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening.
Great. Thank you. That is Gary Bettan from Broadfield talking about the LiveU Solo and the 2-modem starter pack. You can find out more information on both of those and all the products we feature here on Livestream Deals at the, as I try and fill while I get rid of lower third. All the products and services we feature here on Livestream Deals. Let's get to our next guest. He's someone who's been on the show before. In fact, last year when Chris Krimitsos was our guest, he told a story about how he and his mother-in-law delivered a baby, his youngest daughter. And man, that was some story. I think you're under a lot of pressure to try and top that today.
There's no topping that. So I'm okay with that.
So how's everybody doing before we get to Podfest? How's everybody doing?
We're doing good. Actually, we're in Arizona for the holidays. So I have a fireplace right behind me. And Arizona is known as a hot state, but I'm telling you, man, it's cold this year. It's been really cold out here.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it dips down to the 30s.
Wow. I lived out there for about 5 years. It's nice. It's nice. You're in the Phoenix area?
Right now I'm in the Phoenix area, yeah.
So tell us what's coming up, Podfest 2020. You've got a lot of different tracks going on. You've got some side events. Tell us what you're looking forward to for Podfest 2020 coming up in March in Orlando.
Well, this will kind of go right into what you've been asking people to give you the trends.
Right.
So Podfest is going into one of the biggest trends, which is very niche content creation within all fields of broadcasting. So you'll notice that we have our own Podfest signature niche events. Like we have one for audio drama. We have one for military creators. We have another one for, we have a lot of other ones. Then we have these other workshops that we are allowing other people to incubate, like Podcast Editor Con, the first ever.
Right.
We have the first ever Sports PodCon and Esports Con. Cinema Voz, which is a Latin voiceover conference, very unique. So we have a lot of unique content as well as niche workshops catering to a very diverse range. It's actually doubled the size of Podfest. Last year we had 975 people. We're expecting close to 2,000 next year.
Wow, that's awesome.
So
man.
we're following
Congratulations.
Ross, we're following the trend of understanding that independents want more variety and they want their niche to be highlighted. So we're doing that. So a lot of niche content for niche creators.
One of the great things about having the live chat is sometimes people have better questions than I would have thought of. So let me get right to a question from Anita Sonia. She asks, will you be sharing Podfest online as well?
There'll be some of it that'll be streamed online through Podbean. They're one of our sponsors. They'll be streaming some audio out for some of the sessions. So I would go to Podbean on the days of Podfest, March 6th, 7th, 8th, and you'll be able to capture some of it streamed through the Podbean service.
So for people who may not be primarily focused on podcasting, because it's called Podfest, immediately you think podcasting. Talk about some of the other options for people to learn and network and grow in addition to podcasting.
Well, I actually forgot the biggest side breakout, or really other conference you do, which is VidFest for video content creators, YouTubers, live streamers. So VidFest happens a day before Podfest, March the 5th and the 6th. VidFest will have 400 people in it by itself. It'll be double from last year. So VidFest already has people like Jeremy Vest from vidIQ. We have some big heavy hitters coming in, talking and teaching at VidFest. So if you want to learn, by the way, Ross, even if you don't go to VidFest, Podfest has a dedicated video track throughout the whole conference. We also have a dedicated track called Wildcard, and that is for all these unique things that you might not think about, audiobooks, publishing. We have a very unique LinkedIn. So we have a lot of different topics we're covering, as well as stuff for podcasters and video content creators.
Oh, it's exciting. Talk about the new venue. For what, the last 5 years you were at the same venue. Now you have a new venue. Moving on up, tell us what to expect from the new venue.
Yeah, so the new venue is the Marriott World. It's the world's largest Marriott with over 3,000 hotel sleeping rooms, and it's one of the largest convention hotels, I think 10th in the country. So we will have a really huge space. Our trade show is going to be enormous with a lot of giveaways that we always do. Listen, Podfest, it's coming into its big boy pants next year. And what I mean by that is we've always been a niche conference with amazing connections, so we're not changing that. But we'll be on the international scene. We've had people from all over the world contact us about Podfest. So it's a pretty amazing time for us in growth. And it's all from word of mouth, to be honest. We don't do a lot of advertising. Even though we do advertising, most of our growth has been from word of mouth.
For people who are new to Podfest, may not have attended yet, what are some of the central features, the central events that have been part of the last several Podfests that they can look forward to experiencing?
Well, I'll give you, we do things very differently than most conferences. So one very unique thing is we start what you would call our orientation is Trivial Warfare Night that Jonathan Oakes helped us put on last year. We actually team up brand new attendees with each other at a round table and play trivia against the whole room in real time. That's how we get to meet and greet each other. It's really fantastic. And then we have podcasting and YouTube connection zone where content creators can meet each other through a strategic alliance. Ross, I don't know if you know this, but this year is the first year that we're doing a marketplace. It's where business owners can hire out services in real time. So they're going to be interviewing strategic consultants, voiceover people, video editors, audio editors, because I always get every year, I want to hire someone. So this year we're going to intentionally combine them in a room where they could hire actively in real time. And then we have after parties for everybody. And I got this idea from my peer, Jessica Kupferman, who's a genius. We have a dueling piano Howl at the Moon party we did last year. We're going to do it again this year on site, but we also will have an introvert room for the introverts. So there'll be if it gets too loud or too crazy, there'll be a party room that'll be specifically quiet for more quiet connectivity without loud music blasting you in the face.
Wow. You really think of everything for the experience of the average attendee. I really love how you run the event, how you seem to know everyone's name. You seem to make everybody feel comfortable, and spend time with the attendees while also putting on this fantastic and rather extensive event. I don't know how you do it, but it's amazing. I imagine it's because you're so well prepared throughout the year that the event has a certain smooth way of running while you're there.
Well, listen, this year I have a really amazing team, and right now it's chaotic at this time in the promotion cycle, but our job is to get all the details done before the event. And then you're right, then I could be present with everybody, having a great time. And I know most of my attendees, like Ross, I know, you've put pictures up with your dad online. So
Right.
I remember those things, and it's like, and you kind of know who the people are. So we really make it a point of getting to know each other, but it's not just us, it's Glenn the Geek.
Right.
It's Jessica Kupferman. It's my wife. It's all these amazing people. I've been part of it since the beginning. Dave Jackson, School of Podcasting. So it's a huge family, and it's just expanding, and it's getting bigger, and it's more exciting. We have something very special, Ross. I don't know how many people close out their session with the closing keynote being the attendees themselves,
Right.
telling us what they're grateful for. But it's kind of the hallmark of this event. It's unique in its own way.
Love it. Love it. Talk a little bit about when you mentioned this marketplace, and I love this idea because one of the reasons a lot of us are working solo isn't because we don't necessarily need help with a certain niche area where we know we could hire. We don't have the time or the knowledge of where to necessarily go to find somebody who would fit in with what we're creating. So the ability to have people there that you can actually talk to and interview right on the spot and feel like you're connecting and see their work. This is amazing for people who just don't have the time to do a lot of searching for that party with whom they can outsource some of the work to.
Every year I get asked after Podfest, who should I hire? And I'm like, didn't you meet them? They were at Podfest. So we realized there's a disconnect. So I'd rather, like you said, in real time, you could interview 3 or 4 people. And Ross, you know this, some people you do better with, other people you don't. So everybody knows there's a connection that needs to be made, not only work-wise, but also sometimes personality fit. So I figured, why don't we do that in real time? We have the space. Let's put the people together. The first year, I'm going to learn a lot of how to do it, right? How we can make it smoother. But the key is we will have a home now for our editors, our voiceover actors, our professionals to connect with other people that need their services in real time.
And is that, something that they pay to be a part of, or is that, tables are set up and you get a shift, or how exactly?
There will be tables. I'm still working out the details, but you're right. The business owners themselves will be sitting at a table,
Mm-hmm.
and then the service providers, the business owners will put out a logo. So if I need video or audio, there'll be a card on my table,
Right.
and then you would sit down where you see an opening.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try and match to have it an equal number, but for instance, sponsors will get first crack. So since they're sponsoring, putting in money at a higher level, and our inner circle ticket holders, if they're in the service, they'll get first chance to meet with those people. And after that, we'll open it to the general service providers.
So an attendee who doesn't can actually participate in that.
Yes, correct. It's open for everybody.
Included. Okay, that's fantastic.
It might be 30 minutes after, the
Right.
sponsor, everybody, but they will definitely have a crack at it. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So I want to ask you about your prediction. You mentioned YouTube and you mentioned how-to videos. We talked about it a little bit yesterday on StreamYard Connect, shared your prediction. What do you see for YouTube? A lot of people are getting a little concerned about YouTube. They're wondering if maybe they're too late, or if the rules are changing, or where the opportunity is. Is it just for kids? What do you say to people who are skeptical about YouTube being an opportunity for them at this point?
So I'm going to give you the general view, because like when you go into microscopic views, everybody's got their own political philosophy and all that.
Right.
And there is a lot of merit to what they're saying about YouTube throttling certain content and not content, but that's not the viewpoint I'm looking at right now. If I'm a content creator, a how-to person, a business owner, YouTube right now, if you have the resources, is the place to put your content. It's not only a video delivery platform, it's a search engine that is just getting more and more traffic as each day moves forward.
Wow.
And there's more and more people like us, Ross, that maybe aren't as savvy as you and I, but now they're showing up to YouTube searching certain terms that they didn't a few years back. So those content creators need to come in and fill the gap.
Yeah. Now, when people go and let's say they have their area of expertise and they start a channel, do you advise people to start with targeting as wide as you can within that niche? Like start with the beginner and work to it, specializing in videos for advanced people, or where do you think the right place is to start when you take a very specific niche that you have expertise in and you want to do how-to videos for people who want to learn something and more about that area, if that makes sense? It's very vague, my question.
The easiest thing to do is get a tool like Keywords everywhere and search what terms are being searched the most within your niche and start with a how-to video in that realm. You do need to have some kind of editing abilities. That's why at VidFest and Podfest, we will have video editors that people could hire. There's a lag on the video side. There's a lot of audio editors, but I don't see as many great video editors that people could use, even though they're out there. So find a good editor to help you do some basic editing, because you definitely need a good thumbnail image. For people that don't know what that is, that's the image that's like, and then you put some words on that, right? But that's not an image that's in the video. That's an image you create to put in front of the video, just in case someone's wondering. So that, you got to have a good thumbnail. You got to do some SEO keyword research. On the podcasting front, the niche content's growing. The geo-targeted content's growing. A lot of female influencers are jumping on board. She Podcast is probably one of the biggest trends that I saw this past year. Their conference went from 0 to 650 attendees. Wow. They packed out the Marriott Marquis in Atlanta. Jessica and Elsie have done an amazing job. That conference, I believe, will be bigger than Podcast Movement one day. I truly believe that. There's something special there with the female content creator, and I think it's only going to grow bigger and bigger. And that community is very supportive of each other. A lot of money coming into the space, so you're going to see a lot of corporate. Right now, iHeart's doing something very smart. They're using the old asset of radio and incubating podcasts that they're buying and bringing it into their radio and then juicing up the numbers. Wow. So they're taking their brand equity from radio, infusing it into their podcasting properties, and literally quadrupling the numbers within a 6-month year period. So they're getting ready for the transition. They're not dumb. They know what's going on. So we will have a big announcement to make about Podfest and some really cool presenters that I can't just say just yet that will be there. But they will be talking about the future transition of how all this comes out and how it all plays together.
That's so exciting. Some of these different trends you're talking about. If you don't mind me asking, how do you stay on top? You do such a great job of staying on top of what's happening in all these different verticals. How do you do that? Is it more through contacts, or are there certain websites or news sources that you use to really you really have a good feel of where things are going in these different content creation online media industries?
I've been on the cutting edge for a long time. I just didn't understand how to utilize the information. Like now I actually have conferences that I could actually monetize my information in a way. And now I'm getting paid all kinds of money for consulting. But I will tell you this, Ross, as a young man in '96 when AOL came online, I remember being fascinated about the future of what's going on. So I've been part of it from the beginning of the internet. So I've been enthralled. So my one friend's one of the top Alexa skill builders. He actually builds tools for the data lake. For those of you that don't know, in the Alexa world, it's not the cloud, it's the data lake. So I'll ask him what's going on, because he's building the plumbing for the lake for all the skill builders. So if you get a guy like that, I mean, he built an Alexa skill that became a sales manager for an entire sales team. So the sales team was reporting to an Alexa bot that was then managing an entire sales team. And productivity went through the roof, Ross, because no one could BS the Alexa bot, because it's not a human, so you can't BS a human.
Right.
So she was just reporting back to you what you were saying and what you were going to do. So this is the world we're living into, and I'm just fascinated by it. But I'm also a realist, understanding I'm not. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not one of those people that I wish it was like this from yesteryear. I do have those thoughts, but I delete it as quick as they come in. Because the world is changing, and we gotta grow with it.
Well, we promised it in the beginning of the show and on social media. Chris is generous enough to offer a free ticket to one viewer to Podfest Expo. Let's see. What's a good question? Do you have a good question in mind?
No, I have it even easier, Ross, for both of us.
Okay.
If they go to podfestexpo.com in the general admission ticket, if they use the coupon code Livestream, it'll zero out their ticket and they get it. So first come, first serve.
Perfect.
So that way you and I don't have to track it, because I was thinking about it. I was like,
excellent.
Poor Ross will have to. So if you use Livestream and it zeroes out your ticket, congratulations. You could thank Ross. You won the ticket on his behalf.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing that, and thanks again for everything you do in putting this event together. Tamara Thompson's our next guest, and she's going to talk about video creation. Do you have a couple more minutes until she jumps aboard?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, when you look at the entire spectrum of podcasting right now, and how much it's being talked about, and how much money like Spotify and some brands and corporations are pouring into it, even doing internal podcasting, is podcasting going to go the way of sort of big media, big business, or do you think there'll always be a place for the independent creator to use podcasting either to supplement their business, or to make some money from podcasting, or to continue to have a nice presence and branding themselves and reaching an audience even as the big boys jump into the game, so to speak?
So for us to understand how podcasting works, I used to do shows on public access.
Mm-hmm.
I know you know what that is, Ross, but most people don't know what public access is. Public access was a time when cable TV controlled everything, that the public, each county had to get a channel. So then us, community people like Ross that like to do video, could literally go drive down to the station and be allowed to have a show. Podcasting in its creation is a public access platform. The entire public has access. There's no gatekeeper that controls the medium. So you want to see the independent content creator can grow as high as they want to. Like, look at Joe Rogan. He's bigger than any network, depending on how much momentum they could build. And you could also have smaller content creators that are big enough where they get gobbled up to networks. So we see a lot of money in a lot of this, but public will always have access, and there will always be the ability for someone to do great things. You just need to have patience. This is what I will tell people. People want to like a hit within a month. Spend 3 years, 4 years building up a platform with your numbers growing. You'll grow something. Just don't expect to hit the paint off the ball right out the gate, but pay attention to your numbers.
That's Chris Krimitsos. Chris, thanks again
Ross. Happy
for
holidays.
joining us.
I'll see you next year at Podfest.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Chris. That is Chris Krimitsos from Podfest Expo. It's great to have him with us. And again, we are giving away a free ticket. If you can head on over to Podfest Expo, put in the code Livestream. If you're the first one over there, you can get a free ticket to Podfest Expo. Thanks to Chris for joining us. I am definitely heading to Podfest Expo this March in Orlando. Got my ticket already, booked my flight. No getting out of it for me, and I can't wait. I'm excited to be going there. We also talked earlier about the LiveU Solo. Gary Bettan, the president of Broadfield, joined us, and you can find out more about the LiveU Solo and also the 2-modem starter pack at livestreamdeals.com. Very excited to bring on our next guest. Tamara Thompson is a video creator, and all you have to do is spend a little time on one of her websites, as I did the other day, and you see some really well-produced videos that you just don't see most people have, out there on behalf of their brand or their business. So it's great to invite Tamara Thompson on from Brand Your Authority. Tamara, thanks for joining us on Livestream Deals.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's Tamara like camera.
Oh, I am so sorry. We've never spoken before, and I made an assumption. Tamara, thank you for being here. I love the little clapper behind you.
Action. We got like the camera. You can't see everything up there, but we got cameras, slates, you name it.
So before we get into Brand Your Authority, tell us a little bit about how you got into video and how you got to where you're creating these wonderfully produced videos for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so Broadcast Your Authority really like came to be like back in the day, like back when I was like a minion, like 7 years old. My dad bought like the first camcorder that was like huge and was like on like my shoulder and stuff like that. And so video has always been with me, but what's interesting is that it followed me later in life when YouTube came out in 2005. I started my own channel and was starting to do like silly like YouTube videos, running around, like doing interviews, dancing around with like my hairbrush, like singing like 80s music, doing weird stuff. I was like following Justine at the time, and she was like doing parkour, and I was like, I can do this too. But then I was like, I wasn't sure if that's really what I wanted to do. And so I went back to film school in my late 20s, and I started my business called Serious Take Productions because I wanted people to take me seriously as a female filmmaker. And so I started directing documentary films, which started entering circuits where I'm from originally, Seattle, Washington, and they started selling out. They started, all of a sudden I was known as this female director in the Seattle area, and then I had films that went sold out in Palm Springs and all over the place back in like early 2000 and the early 2010, 11, 12 era.
Right.
And that was really where it kind of got going. And I love the essence of documentaries because you could always share a story, like, and bring the stories to life that were so authentic and real and true, and just getting that person, that brand, that product across in a way that was congruent with how they felt and how their authenticity came across on camera. And that's really how I started my companies, to create brand story trailers that were inspiring and compelling, and just
right.
It was like making your own mini documentary, but we called them trailers instead because it was just short form but compelling at the same time. So that's really where it got going before we got into Broadcast Your Authority. So.
And now you have a team and you have a company, and how did that all come together to where you really are able to serve smaller and larger clients?
Yeah, it took a lot of work, a lot of delegation, a lot of like hiring, a lot of firing, a lot of trying to figure out who fit well, that worked with like had great teamwork, work ethic, compassion, empathy, as well as they're passionate about their specific roles. And it was hard in the beginning. We started building out videographers throughout different states because we started becoming a recruiting agency for these compelling trailers. And then it became marketing content, and then it was events, and then it was just like boom, boom, boom. And it was just this massive relationship that we were building with entrepreneurs in that space. Once you started to get into the entrepreneurial space, you started to know who people were. People started to know who we were. People started seeing our work and knowing my background, because I used to produce also videos for like Microsoft and Starbucks. Wow. And then I built my own company, left that, and worked with our own clients like Safeway, Albertsons. So we worked with like larger corporations, but I had this like heart for working with entrepreneurs and small business owners. So it was just the sense of learning how to delegate was really, it's still there every level. They say new level, new devil, right? Or whatnot.
Right.
And it's just like each time you like bust through that glass ceiling that's not there, it's just different because each time you have to bring on new people. Even last month, we brought on 6 new employees after our event, where we generated multiple 6 figures from a matter of 3 days, like selling a product from the stage. Like it's interesting to have a service-based done for you program, but also hold events. So we've kind of got this era of like knowing what like digital marketing is, but like how other people can help get themselves out there too, like helping a done for you service, because inevitably time is our most important, valuable asset, really. So.
And that's it. I mean, there's so much time that goes into an entrepreneur, a business owner, having to shoot the video and having to edit the video and having to figure out the next content cycle and SEO and
the strategies, like
social, and I mean it goes on and on and on, right?
It's true, and especially with the strategy part, I think that's where like we have the one up on the done for you aspect of like having the ability to create strategies first. Like it's always stepping into who's your brand, who's your target audience, where do they hang out? Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I like Instagram, but I think they're hanging out on Facebook, or, it's like, well, where are they? Like, where do you want to be? Where do you want your brand to be positioned? Where do you want to be seen as the authority, or is it multiple places? And it's interesting because a lot of people just will go in and do a Facebook Live. But the way that we teach our clients is like, when you're doing the content, make sure it's a strategy behind it. Like what do people actually want to hear? What do people actually want to, see, because we can be like, oh, I'm going to create this video because I think they'll think it's awesome.
Right.
But really, like, are people searching for that in Google and YouTube these days? Like, half the time, no, or they might not even say like keywords that can be optimized the right way. So that's really what we help with people. That's like the first step, is being able to strategize, like put the keywords together, like what are the right videos you should be putting out there, that's going to give you more availability to be visible, really. So
we're talking with Tamara Thompson from Broadcast Your Authority. I want to say congratulations to Ellen in the Facebook chat. She won the Podfest Expo ticket giveaway. She said live stream done on Podcast Expo site. So congratulations. Look forward to seeing you in March in Orlando at Podfest Expo. Easy for me to say. So Broadcast Your Authority. Talk a little bit about what your program is for a typical client who would come to you and want to get a video program going.
Yeah. Like I said, we tend to attract entrepreneurs and business owners that, have been in business generally a few years. They know they have a clear message. They know who they want to reach. They just feel like they're stuck at a point where they're like, maybe they might have hit their first 6 figures and they're like, I can't figure out how to get to, multiple 6 figures, or maybe they're at 400,000 in their business and they're really trying to reach like 7 figures in their business, whatever that looks like. It's like, we really like to hone in and figure out like, what is that struggle that those current business owners are really trying to figure out, like, because we all know that video is one way to reach our audience, to connect on such a personal level that it's like our personality shines, our hair shines, our teeth shine, our laughs are contagious, whatever that looks like. And then, but that's really what it is. It's like people can get a sense of you on a video versus maybe just listening to you on an audio podcast. It's just one step bigger that, being able to step into a program that has that done for you aspect, from teaching you how to create your own better videos for your video podcasts that launch weekly on YouTube, to being able to repurpose that into the audio podcast. Because we've talked to people, and a lot of people have an audio podcast, right? But then they're like, oh, I just don't want to get on video yet. I'm just too scared. Or, like, I'm not ready for that. I'm like, well, why not? Like, you could just turn on the camera, you plug in your mic, you do the same thing, get all pretty if you need to, and I know it's a thing called fear, but it's like, once people do that, it's so cool to see people just like get out of their comfort zone, get out of their own way. And they're like, that was easier than I thought.
Right. And if you have an audience already, they're already going to like you, and they're going to be thrilled that they get to see you in the environment where you're creating content, or how you go about your day. One of the things that we talked about off the air, and I'm really thrilled about, is you are offering a free 30-minute strategy session to any one of our viewers who'd like to take advantage of that with your team. Talk about how that works and what they're in for if they choose to go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So my team, if it's myself or one of my team members, we're all great at video strategy. So it's like stepping in and figuring out, what's your video strategy for 2020? Like, what have you been doing that you think works or has been working, or something that you feel like you might need to spice up more, or maybe you haven't even started utilizing video and you're just not sure where to start. It's like, well, we can, utilize and give like directions on anywhere from, the content piece, the strategy side, but also to recommendations for programs, live stream, what gear, anything that you really feel like you need to hone in on, or if you need a clear messaging on, if you're thinking of starting like a video podcast and you're just like, I can't even think of my own name. Like, what's the name of my show? Is it me? Is it Broadcast Your Authority? I don't
Right.
So we have the ability to speak with myself or one of my team members, just to have the opportunity to really figure out, like, sometimes we just need a little hand holding. We need that essence of like just having a little bit of structure there, because we can just start at it and just, think that we're throwing spaghetti and it sticks at the wall. But at the same time, I think it's good to have, a second pair of eyes and ears that can go in there and just help you put some structure to that and put a plan together. So you'd be like, take action with that in January 1st, so just be able to go out and do that. So
that's a really, really valuable service that you're offering. Again, it's a free 30-minute strategy session, and you can find that at brandyourauthority.com, and you can go down and you can broadcast. There you go. Broadcast Your Authority.
I like that name though too. I was like, Brand Your Authority.
But you know what? I really was supposed to say you can find that and all the other products at livestreamdeals.com, because then I don't have to remember each web address and I don't have to confuse people with every web address. But I thought, you know what? Just go ahead and save people a step. But I blew it. So livestreamdeals.com or broadcastyourauthority.com. And it's a contact form that they can fill out, right? And then they can
it's basically like, let's chat. It's like simple as that. Fill out some information, and then we'll get to you. So
okay, so we talked a little bit about people not having a strategy. What are some of the other common mistakes that people are making with video that's resulting in them either not getting business results from it or just not being able to sustain any kind of audience?
Yeah, well, I've seen this recently with some people that I know. I'm not going to mention any names. I've just seen people, it's cool. Like, if you have a following already and you have a big audience and people want to see what you're doing, you want to go on walks, you want to see what you're doing at the beach or whatnot, like kicking the sand. But if you really aren't having like any people hop on and you get maybe like 0 likes or to 1 like, or you don't see anybody like hopping on those live streams where you're taking us for a walk and a talk or whatnot, you might just want to think about a little bit better strategy. I don't know about you, but when Facebook Live came out, obviously a while ago, I was starting to see people like taking us on walks and, they didn't really use selfie sticks or gimbal, like mobilizers for phones or whatnot, but people would take me on walks and all of a sudden I felt like I was in the Blair Witch Project. Like I was like, I just need to turn this off because I'm getting dizzy. I'm like,
right.
Sickness. Like, it's like being able to like, I know not everybody has like stability or whatnot all the time, but I think that ability to have some stability when you're recording something, especially if you're wanting it to get a message across and people want to stay on it, like make sure that you can be seen and you're not like upside down or you're like this, or and all of a sudden I see your hair like flipping there and then there's the ocean and there has to be a purpose to the video. I guess that's my point, purpose to the video. But I think that's just one thing. I think people are just trying to get used to it or test out some stuff, but ask for feedback first too. Like, what do you guys want me to like talk about? Ask your audience, because they're the ones that are going to say like, hey, let's do a poll. What kind of topics in my field should I talk about? And they vote on it. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like in my Facebook group, we're going to talk about XYZ. I think people just trying to do stuff randomly and not have a point to it. Just it's not good on their part to be positioned as the authority either,
Right. And I guess when you're doing video on behalf of, I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. Are you able to just turn your speaker down just slightly? When people are doing video on behalf of their business, there's a couple of different tacks that people tend to take, right? One is they're the expert and they're giving, another is they're kind of taking you through a tour of how they learn. What are some of the different kinds of ways that people can approach content on behalf of their business that is effective in reaching an audience?
Good question. I don't know, but how many, like you've built an email list, right? Like build like an email list and you've got your.
I've done a good job on the building side. The communicating side, I'm not as good at.
Well, we're always telling people in our group, like, you have to have like a call to action, right? You have to have a call to action to you should have a call to action on every video, honestly, even if it's like something that's like, hey guys, I'm going to show you behind the scenes. Like, I'm in studio today and I'm just showing you a quick clip. Like, people have to think of where that call to action is going to be going throughout this whole story, this journey, right? Like that. So I think one of the things is fine tuning. Like when we work with people on the marketing content side, like in the copy and stuff like that for like actual marketing videos, it's like there's certain structures that we have to put in place. Like what's the hook? What's the catch? What's going to keep their attention? What's the call to action? And that's not always the way that all videos are, but when you're actually doing like live streams and other things like that, people should think about that, because that's one strategy with Facebook Lives, is actually being able to have, your hook, your story, you actually say your offer in between, like you're saying this between this live stream, like go to this link, these deals are here all throughout the show. Like you're doing awesome with that. People need to think about that too, even when they're doing live streams and they're walking outside talking to us. Like, what's the point of this message? What's the call to action here? And actually place that call to action throughout different parts of their videos. It's just like having a sales page, it's just like something that people should consider doing when they're doing these shows, like have that call to action pop up on the screen, on StreamYard or wherever that makes sense, because I see a lot of people doing just content, or they just do video podcast interviews, and they're not utilizing getting their attention, especially within the first like 5 minutes. What if somebody jumps off a show? It's like have that consistent call to action throughout that. So yeah, I think that's one thing that we like to talk about and share with people. We have like a certain structure, script, formula to actually have our clients go through that when they do prepare, Facebook Lives like that. So
Sonia says, thank you for the tips, the call to action,
You're
and
welcome.
videos, and not only sharing, Tamara. So that's really cool. And Anna says, thank goodness for the gimbals my pals have. Makes such a difference.
I was looking for one of mine. I was like, it's not here. It's in the room. I love gimbals.
Do you do a lot of mobile phone? Do you do a lot of mobile phone video?
I have a Smooth, the mobile Smooth, and then I have selfie sticks. We have branded selfie sticks that say "Broadcast Your Authority." Like a lot of like we do like fun clips too, like for like our clients, like with the big gimbals. Mm-hmm. So you probably saw that in some of the professional videos that we've done. Like, mobile stability is good.
Is the Smooth the one that like stretches out to become a selfie stick, or am I thinking of a different one?
The Smooth, oh gosh,
There's one that like it's like a regular gimbal, and then all of a sudden you can pull it out and make a selfie stick out of it or something.
It can go a little bit out, but this is more the motorized one, so it has the button, right? And then it goes up and down and turns, and then there's the app that you can track your face. Mm-hmm. So your face is being tracked. So I've told people what they can do is actually get one of those, because you can set it up with the tripod, it's like feet.
Right.
And so if you're like a speaker at an event, this is a simple thing to do. If you're not using, if you just want to set it up on a table, you could set it up there on the thing, and it tracks you as you're speaking on stage. You can just set up your smartphone and go back and forth. And some of my clients, we used to create more speaker trailers for people. And I was like, just set this up and get that clip of yourself and set your phone to 4K on your iPhone, because 4K resolution is going to just pop, set the exposure the right way, and then put it on the Smooth to track you.
I need to go back and listen to what you just said 4 times, take notes.
Yeah, they're like, what?
I need to do that.
What? Yeah.
So set it to 4K. Sure. Yeah, I don't think I've ever shot 4K on my phone.
Oh, do you have an iPhone?
I have an iPhone 10X.
If you go,
10 something.
I'm curious what your settings are. If you go to your settings, the settings button.
Okay.
So like the little gear button, right? Scroll down to your camera. Where is it at?
Camera.
Did I pass it?
I'm not seeing it either.
Camera. Okay. Yeah. So on your phone, I don't know if you can see this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can get. There's the 4K at 30 frames per second.
Okay.
If you select that record video mode at 4K at 30 frames per second, that's going to give you 4K.
But I'm not finding my. Where did you find the camera?
Okay, it's under settings, under the little gray mobile, the settings.
Right. No, I'm in settings.
And then scroll down to camera. Your gray camera.
Maybe I delete. No, there it is. Okay. Very good.
You've got a camera on your phone.
Okay, so it says record video at 1080p at 30 frames per second.
So change that to 4K at 30 frames per second.
Yeah, I actually have a choice of 24 or 60. 60 is going to be crazy, right?
if you do 60, that's more if you're trying to do some like cool slow motion tricks.
Right,
That's
right,
good
right.
for post-production for slow motion. So, but I say 30 frames per second because you can punch that in post-production. And then you have a little bit of leeway in post-production to punch it in a little bit more without losing definition. So.
Wow, cool. Are you
Yeah.
cool with sticking around for a little bit for a little
Yeah.
post show, and we can take
Sure.
some questions from people? So
Yeah.
I'll just drop you back into the studio for a second, and just for the podcast sake, I'll say thank you so much for joining us, Tamara. It's great to catch up with you, Tamara Thompson. Broadcast Your Authority, not brand your authority, broadcastyourauthority.com.
You
She's
got
giving away free 30-minute strategy sessions. Head on over there if you need help with your video strategy. And it's great to talk to you, and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Exactly. Thank you so much for having me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks to Gary Bettan, the president of Broadfield, who joined us to talk about the LiveU Solo and also a special modem starter pack for LiveU Solo users. You can find that, all the products and services from our shows at livestreamdeals.com, including tickets to Podfest Expo. I'm going there in March. You should go there too if you're into podcasting, YouTube, live streaming, video, or any other type of new media. It's podfestexpo.com. Chris Krimitsos was good enough to join us. He's the founder. He's really on top of what's going on in the industry, and also creates a really community-oriented event in addition to what's becoming one of the podcast industry's biggest and most important must-attend events every year. And Tamara Thompson, Broadcast Your Authority, brings the free 30-minute strategy sessions, and also creates amazing videos. You should check out her trailers on her Broadcast Your Authority website and online. She creates amazing videos, and if you want to have a video program for your business, she's a great person to put that together for you. Also, if you are interested, I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, in a 45-minute live streaming strategy session with me, or a 45-minute audio content strategy session with me, let me know. I'm giving away one of each. Throw in the comments what you would like to do with it, and I will pick out one winner who I feel that I can help the most. You can do that. I will check all the different platforms. Thank you to everybody for joining us, and stick around. We're going right into some post-show in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back, Tamara. This is the Livestream Deals post show. And I want to say a quick hello to our folks watching on LinkedIn, as unlike the other destinations, the LinkedIn comments don't come into the chat. I see Stacy is there. Jamie Cohen is there. I see Akina Finch. Dr. Tachi is there. Thank you all so much for joining us, and everybody else watching on LinkedIn. We really appreciate it. And also to everybody on Facebook. Facebook has been really jumping throughout the show. We appreciate all the chatting going on in Facebook. Anna's been very active in the chat. We appreciate that. Ellen, of course, won her ticket to Podfest Expo. Look forward to meeting her in Orlando. Steven is here. Zeph Zan, we haven't spoken in a while. Good to see you. Anita, of course, very active in the chat. And everybody else on Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you all so much for joining. So we're talking about video with the right person, Tamara Thompson, who creates amazing trailers. Talk about some of the different ways that people use those trailers. I watched them all on your, not your Broadcast Your Authority website, your other website. I went to the page where you have like all the marketing ones, and they're phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, those take so much time and detail into just the pre-production aspect of our brand story trailers. So that's at SeriousTakeProductions.com. So that's the company I started back in 2012 when I left corporate. And it was just like this sense, like I said, it was that element of just wanting people to take me seriously as a filmmaker instead of like a videographer or some freelancer, on that side. And I was like, I really want to build a company because I want to help serve more people, because I knew at the same time that I couldn't be everything at once. I couldn't wear all the hats that I know how to wear, but I didn't want to wear all those hats. And so I really, through the process, got to learn like putting together like a formula and a questionnaire that asks all the right questions, from really defining what story it is that people want to share. Because what happens is people come to us and they say like, this is my brand story. And I'm just like thinking to myself, there's got to be some other point between here and here that brought you to here, because we all know that there's something within us or our mission or our passion that comes through and people light up when they share their story, right? Or they get, emotional. And that's really what we do, is we really fine tune it and figure out like, what's that emotional point that people are going to connect with you through that one particular story? Or is it another story that you need to share that leads up to another story? Like, that's really what it is about, finding the right emotion in the music too. Like, people, like, you watch videos and a lot of people get this sense, they're like, I was like, that was a cool video, right? And then they're like, but it just didn't, like, it was like, and you think about it, and it, 100 times, like, people watch videos, they should be paying attention to the music, the tone, like, what's the brand, the vibe, and so like our team like takes the time to like really fine tune it, figure out what music that really needs to go with this brand, what's the points and the editing and the cutting. So if you've watched some of those videos, you've probably seen like how the movement cuts to like every second beat. Like, that was something that I was taught in film school. Like, it's like boom, 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 like whatever I'm pretty animated. So I could like tell a story through a story.
Really? I was shocked. I thought you were very reticent to come on camera.
So I have all the background on really fine tuning that. And I'm like probably the fastest editor I've ever met. Everyone could just be like, what? But I don't do that anymore. Like, I can't focus on being an editor because I have to build a company, And so like, it's cool because people can come to me and I can just be like, just do this, add this. And like, our editors are like, what? They're like, oh, wow, you just like knew how to do that. And I was like, well, it took time and years to like know. When I was editing documentaries and music videos, I worked with people on The Voice and American Idol. And, I wanted to make sure things were perfect, or at least perfect for their brand, right? Their story to tell,
right, with
their music, the emotion, the vibe. And it's the same thing with music videos, but you do that now. We do that with business owners. Like, what is that video that's going to pull them in, connect with them, and they're literally watching it to the end, so like our clients' videos will be watched, 9 times longer than half the trailers out there, because they're actually watching them to the end.
Right.
Because people want to connect with those people and hear their story, and they're just finding themselves like wanting to watch more. And that's like this, I want to say like a gift that I've had, but I've been able to teach other people on my team like what to look out for in the sense of tone and when to cut, or like when to use jump cuts. What kind of videos do you do that for versus like smooth movements to transitions to, like when do you put in a drone shot? Like, probably at the beginning of the video, so people are like,
Now, is the way you do a jump cut just not using a transition, or are there ways that there are things that you do to make it even have more of a jump feel to it?
Yeah, I'm actually a fan of jump cuts. I'm not a huge fan of like cross dissolves or like fade to blacks or anything. You'll see our videos, there'll be sense of like moving from screen to screen. So when you see a videographer on our team use a specific gimbal motion, when you watch the videos, listen to the music and watch how they kind of go back and forth. So you're playing a story instead of like jump cutting to like something that just seems off kilter. Even the composition of a video is super important to figure out what should you really jump to it, and how is it telling that story with the words and their script at the same time. So being aware of like how to jump cut the right way when it's not just yourself talking and it's B-roll, the creative visuals that are overlaid, over people. Some people are like, what's B-roll?
Right.
So because we have the A cam and we usually have a B and a C and a D cam, but it's a sense of and then when you don't have the ability, or when people don't want like the creative B-roll, you have to get creative with jump cuts on an actual person, right? If you don't have a side angle and you're zooming in and out, that's why when I tell our clients when they're shooting stuff with their smartphone to really put that 4K on there, because you don't lose the resolution when you actually jump cut your face in close up, back out.
Right.
You want to give a little essence of movement somewhere if you can't seem to spice it up, or if you don't have the footage yourself, right?
Right.
But being able to shoot enough content, enough B-roll to overlay the story, but map that whole thing out. So we create storyboards, scripting, the mood, tone, everything through that process to really tell that story. And it's just it's super helpful to just have a system in place that, you can be able to do that for people. So
Anna says, oh my goodness, the editing swipes on the board in college were so 70s. Now I can do more on my iPhone. Cray. I want to bring in Anna's question. Actually, she's got a great question. I don't know how much, I really should preface it with, do you live stream much?
Do you use a run of show? I was like, I use a run of show for events.
No, but actually my first question before we get to the run of show for live streaming is, do you live stream much?
I do. And I've been, I just got access to LinkedIn
cool.
Live. So I'm going to start doing that more. I do it more in my groups, and then we'll do it in my private groups for our clients too. So it gets them more comfortable too. So it's like you're fine tuning that. But I love live streaming. Honestly, I haven't done it much the past month because we got done with our big event. I hired Randy Zuckerberg this year, which was the biggest investment I had ever done, hiring Mark Zuckerberg's sister. And she was great. And but I'm able to build a relationship with her and things like that. And I mean, how cool is that to say that I was able to hire the creator of Facebook Live? I mean, she changed lives.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Tell everybody about your event. It's actually called Broadcast Your Authority.
Yeah, so I've been holding events for quite a while. This was my 7th event. So we have an annual event called Broadcast Your Authority, and we switched our program name a couple of years ago. So we've had 2 Broadcast Your Authority events, and it's every year around October or so in the fall. And each year I bring out, complimentary speakers and collaborators on the side of video essence and community and building influence, but also key connections, because connections is one of my biggest things that I do behind the scenes, is just building relationships with people.
Right.
Making those introductions where I see fit and making sure that people grow and their businesses grow. And so we had an amazing group of people out there, from, video marketing to, PR to storytelling to micromedia we had Mari Smith speak and Randy Zuckerberg. And, it was just like, it was overwhelming, but it was probably the best experience in an event I've ever had. And I'm so excited for 2020 that we don't have the exact dates, but I'm like, it's going to be even bigger and better. We had Anthony Melchiori come out, who I've been talking to for 3 years. And I finally got his attention to do some cool things. And he actually just hired us for his new show, building out his YouTube channel for Instant Turnaround. And he was on the Travel Channel for 9 seasons for Hotel Impossible. So he's like the Marcus Lemonis of like Hotel Impossible hotels.
Wow, that's a great.
Cool. He's like
that's a great
so
get.
cool.
Yeah,
he's like the nicest guy, and he came out to my event too. And while we were running the event, my team's running around behind the scenes, shooting content with Anthony Melchiori and doing videos in a side room with people doing interviews. And so it's like multiple pieces going on, and people never really know what's going on at events. But I'm like, no, we got to do this and this and this. So we had like all of our videographers out there, and it was just so cool. But when people that want to learn how to broadcast their authority in different mediums, or have some kind of question on video marketing or storytelling or human connection and building relationships with influencers, that's the place to be, really. So
Anna asks, where is your conference? I'm going to guess San Diego.
It's been in San Diego the last 2 years. We're actually considering moving it to Scottsdale this year. So,
hey, I would love to go to Scottsdale, because I used to live.
So you and I both vote for Scottsdale.
Yeah, I'm voting for Scottsdale.
Yeah, we might move it this year. So yeah, we're considering Scottsdale, and it'd probably be in October or so.
Cool. Oh, that's a beautiful time to be in Scottsdale.
It is.
There's almost no bad time to be there except the heart of the summer.
True. Yes, I've learned that the last couple of years.
Yeah. Quick hello to Sandra. Sandra Van Sickle has joined us. Met her in person at Vid Summit a few years ago. Great to see you, Sandra. We're talking with Tamara Thompson. It's the Livestream Deals post show. You can find out about all the products and services we talked about during the show at livestreamdeals.com. Tamara, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to everybody for hanging out with the post show. And do check out the website for all the different guests that we had and their products. Happy holidays, everybody. Happy holidays, Tamara. It's great to see you.
Happy
and
holidays.
Look forward to more live streaming, podcasting, YouTube, and good stuff in 2020. Take care, everybody.